This is Eric from Pack Hacker, and today we're comparing the NITECORE Tiki and the NITECORE Tini 2. If you find this video helpful, make sure you subscribe so we can continue making content like this to help you travel smarter. Let's dive in. So as you can see off the bat, we have two versions here of the Tini 2, just two of the different colorways, and then we've just got one here of the Tiki. So Tom and Ahmad both really like the Tini 2, but I tested and did a full review of the Tiki, so I'm kind of partial to that. So this is kind of a fun little review for me to do. So setting this one aside here, as you can see, just from looking at them, that this one here on the right, the Tini 2, is made of metal. This is aluminum alloy, I believe, and then the Tiki is just made of plastic. So whereas this lends durability, I think, to the Tini 2, the Tiki actually has a better IP rating. So this has an IP rating of IP66, and the Tini has an IP rating of IP54. So on both dust and water ratings, this is actually going to do better for you. So if you are going on wet adventures or where it's going to get muddy and dusty, you might be better off with the Tiki, but just from a straight durability, like drop standpoint, I would go with the Tini 2 because obviously you have that aluminum outside instead of the plastic, which in theory could crack. So when it actually comes to using the lights, the maximum lumen output for each of these lights is similar, but the Tini 2 has the upper hand. The Tini 2 maxes out at 500 lumens and the Tiki maxes out at 300. But what you get on the Tiki that you don't get on the Tini 2 is you have these secondary lights here. So you can kind of see them there through the plastic, which is kind of a unique, it reminds me of like the old school Game Boys that you could see through, or the N64 controllers. So you have a UV light and then just a little kind of like a reading light on there as well that you have on this light, whereas on the Tini 2 you just have the very powerful front light here, which, you get 200 more lumens, but you do get that UV light, which can be helpful for, testing fake currency in some countries. Or I haven't tested it, but you might be able to find like different sodalite rocks, because like some sodalite will kind of like shine under UV light. And then you have that little reading light, which is nice if you're camping or if you just like to read in your hostel and you don't want to wake up the people around you. So depending what you're looking for, they both have nice options, but you definitely get more light out of the Tini 2. When it comes to batteries, obviously with a brighter light, you are going to expect that this one has a larger battery, and it does. Let me make sure I get this right. The Tini 2 has a 280 milliamp battery, and then the Tiki has a 130 milliamp battery. So they both have pretty long lifespans, and in testing we found them to be, we didn't need to charge either of them in our 2-week test span, which is pretty good, especially if you're going on like a 2-week trip. You're not going to have to test these things. But when it comes to testing them, you have to think that this one charges with a USB-C, the Tini 2, and the Tiki charges with a micro USB, which can kind of affect how much stuff you need to bring. So if you already travel with a USB-C, but you don't travel with a micro USB, you're going to need to bring that to be able to charge the Tiki. But if you already bring both, you don't have to bring an extra cable. But that's just something to think about, because USB-C is kind of the industry standard at this point, but a lot of things still do charge with micro USB, so just something to think about. And right now, at the time of shooting this video, this light comes in, the Tini 2, at about $40, and the Tiki can be had anywhere between $20 and $25, depending on the model you get. There are a few different models. I think some of them don't have those 2 extra lights. So similar prices, but about half the price depending on which one you go with. So whatever price you're looking at, that might not work for you. So when it comes to packability, both of these lights are really small, and in my opinion, if you're looking at their dimensions, it doesn't really matter which one you go with because they're both very small. But just to give you those, I'm going to read them really quickly. The Tiki is 2.16 inches by 0.57 inches by 0.57 inches, which is 5.5 by 1.4 by 1.4 centimeters. And then on the Tini here, we've got 0.49 inches by 0.98 inches by 1.83 inches, which is 1.2 by 2.5 by 4.6 centimeters. So they're very similar. Obviously, I think it's a little bit longer if you go with the Tiki here, and a little bit wider if you go with the Tini 2. When it comes to weight, because this one is metal, it is quite a bit heavier. This one here, the Tiki, is 11.9 grams, and you've got 21 grams with the Tini 2. If you include the extra cable you might have to bring for either one of these, those are things to think about, but if I'm honest, they're both very small and they both fit on your keychain. So there you have it, the NITECORE Tiki and the NITECORE Tini 2. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel. We'll see you in the next one.